makes more sense if I do.
We are streaming.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everybody. All the August 3rd Town of Rochester Town Board meeting to order. Stand for questions.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Kate, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Allen. Here. Councilman Paddock.
Here.
Councilwoman Sneeseth. Here. Supervisor Baden.
Here. Town board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor. We're going to add an authorization for the attorney for the town resolution. And we're going to add an executive session that is going to address two issues. One is a particular employee about a particular incident. And one is, the other is ongoing litigation. So with those, items.
Also have a request for
Oh,
two
yes.
additions. One could be extend privilege of the floor to a representative from the housing committee to give a short presentation for their suggestions on our short-term rental staff and short-term rentals. And the other is to either discuss or have a resolution to set the short-term rental cap.
Yep, and thank you for that reminder.
I'll make that motion
With those
with the amendment.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay, I'll start out with the privilege to the floor. If you would like to present to us,
Okay.
if you're.
This is the last minute through.
It's okay.
Someone else on the committee is supposed to do it, but they couldn't get here. Nobody else is on the commission. So, would you like to sit here?
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for preparing this.
We all drafted the letter together. The Town of Rochester Housing Committee makes the following recommendations concerning the issuance of permits for short-term rentals. We recommend that the town board issue a moratorium on new permits for non-owner occupied short-term rentals and set a cap of 0 new permits for next year. We also strongly recommend that existing non-owner occupied permits not be renewed. We make this recommendation for the following reasons. At present, as many as 1 out of every 10 housing units in our town is a short-term rental. In determining that number, we added the original 200 permits plus the cap of 40 from last year to the 81 already grandfathered in for a total of 321 short-term rental units. Based on a rough analysis we undertook, we strongly believe that there are at least 10 to 15 unregistered units at the very minimum, for an approximate total of 331, which is 10% of our total housing stock. Keeping this many units out of commission for residents contributes to the housing crisis, which exists in this town as well as throughout the Mid-Hudson region. Due in part to the prevalence of short-term rentals, there are fewer houses or apartments available for long-term rentals or owner-occupied dwellings. The increase in property values driven in part by investor interest in short-term rentals has resulted in fewer and fewer of the people who work in the area being able to afford to buy a house or find a house to rent. Local businesses are having difficulty keeping employees because housing options are so limited. Workers and employees of our local businesses are all forced to look elsewhere to live. We are not recommending abolishing all STRs as Woodstock, the town of the village of Woodstock has done. We recognize that tourism has traditionally been important to our local economy and is again today becoming increasingly important. However, the scarcity of long-term housing options has also begun to deeply affect our local economy and the people who work here. Given how difficult it currently is to build additional housing, we are proposing a temporary moratorium while we gather and analyze STR data and calculate numbers as info becomes available. We also want to work with the town in developing policies that encourage long-term rentals and owner-occupied housing. We would also like to note that currently before the state legislature is a bill to regulate STRs statewide and create a fund from registrations for affordable housing and fines for unregistered units. We will keep an eye on the legislation's progress. In a time of crisis, we can't afford to take more units out of the rental. We need time to first think through strategies to stabilize the housing situation. One final recommendation is for the town board to submit a letter of support endorsing our county executive Metzger's looking to increase the bed tax from 2% to 4%. That will also apply to short-term rentals. Thank you for your time and consideration of these recommendations from your appointed housing committee.
Can we get a copy of that? Do you mind? Okay, why don't I give it to you?
I can also email a PDF.
Oh, if you want to email it to Kate, that would be great. You want to hang on to this? Just email? Okay. I'm going to take it, but if you could email it to her, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Also, I just want to note they're 200 original. Going back in the minutes, with Aaron, I realized we only said 100 as the original cap that I swore was 200, but I'm guessing we added the grandfather units in, so that is why that.
So there was a grandfather, then
Then,
the
yeah.
first
then
cap
that
was 100.
I thought it was
second cap
200, But I think it was with the grandfather, so that number is wrong. On their report.
Yeah, I don't remember how many were grandfather. It was
81.
81 grandfather. And then,
But that was a mix.
Okay.
but then the second cap was 100, but they were not,
I think there was 61.
yeah, there were not 100 new ones, only 60,
Just availability, but I just wanted to make sure that
which
it was
is,
not them who was.
which is why I think we picked the 40 for year two, because the 2 years together equals the 100 that we started with. Okay, why don't we move on and we'll have the rest of that discussion later, if the board is okay with that. So the financial report will be made at the August 10th workshop meeting. Various correspondence has been shared with the board members, has been received. I do want to give a quick update. First, I again want to apologize to the public, to the board, to the applicants that I was not at last week's public hearing. I came back from vacation and 3 days later tested positive for COVID. 4 days after that, I got a complete blockage in my intestines because of the COVID, and I just got out of the hospital on Tuesday night. So that has been my last 2 weeks. So I just wanted a little public service announcement. You think COVID is respiratory, according to the surgeon at the hospital, and I was that close to surgery. It is reinventing itself and finding its way in other parts of other organs. It is not just respiratory, and it caused a complete shutdown of my intestinal system. So thankfully, the people at Vassar Hospital did an amazing job and got me out of there in 4 days. And I'm here to talk about it and not getting cut open, but just, it is still out there. It's not gone. And I just saw a report in the state that there were 800 new hospitalizations or something like in the last month, maybe, or something like that. So anyway, again, apologies for not being here last week. And thank you, Aaron, for on very short notice running a very, very well-run public hearing and meeting. Appreciate that. The O&W Rail Trail project. If you've been by town hall recently, you will see there's a lot of activity going on. The parking area there is being increased to from the 4 spots that existed to 8 spots. The highway department is assisting. The contractor that is doing the work is Paul Colucci Construction from Gardner. And they are moving now. They started work on the parking area. Now they're moving into the trail. And then the end of the month, they're going to circle back to the parking area. It's just sort of scheduling issues for them. That project will continue into the fall and will be done, I'm told, by the end of the fall. So I don't know if that's October, November, but they also are the same company who did the Gardner Walkill Valley Trail. And I was invited there for the grand opening. And if they do half the job that they did there, we're gonna have a very, very nice trail surface and a great refurbishment. And this is all being done through county funding from American Rescue money. So there is, the only assistance that the town is giving is we are, with the highway department's crew, is supplying some labor for assisting with tree chipping. We will be doing the paving of the parking area. It will be a paved area now, not a gravel area. And we will be assisting with that. And we will also be putting in a new kiosk, which the town will be funding that. And that kiosk is probably less than $5,000. So essentially, we're going to get almost a completely new refurbished trail for less than $10,000. So the Algerville Firehouse, we continue to solve the dilemmas of the heat registers that have been on back order for well over a year. Have finally, the supply chain has made them available. You wouldn't think a heat register would be back ordered that far, but it was. We are working through the controller unit for the fire siren could not be replaced. It was so outdated. We had thought that we were going to be able to just replace it with a new one. So we are working with the contractor to resolve that situation for the siren. And we also, with the drilling of the new well, there is sediment issues in the water system. It is the quality is fine for Board of Health, but there is sediment in the water, so we are working with installing a filtration system to address the sediment. So that's what the three parts of that project that remain. The Boyce Mill Road Bridge, the contractor that we are, this engineer that we are working with, has been working on a proposal, and we'll be showing it to Jeff and myself next Wednesday, at which time they will then submit it to the DOT for their review. And if everybody signs off on it, we will be putting out the construction bids this fall for that project. And then it will be constructed in the next year's construction season. And once it's built, we will definitely be considering naming it Stubby Dunn Bridge. So
Can we also make sure in that proposal they have a plan for a standpipe, possible water draw?
I'll see if it's in there. Yeah. The cost is coming in a little bit higher than, because obviously we got the grant a year and a half ago and prices were different then. So cost is coming in a little bit higher, but they're trying to work within our pricing, and we'll find out Wednesday. The granary EEO public hearing, as I said, was last Thursday. It was closed for verbal comment. It has been held open until 3 p.m. next Thursday, the 10th, for any written comments. So if anyone from the public wishes to submit any comments, please do to the town clerk, and she will share them with the board. And for the board members, we did get 2 comments in. I've updated the Google Drive. So the Google Drive should have everything that we have received on this application. If you have any access issues, let me know, but everything should be in that file. And all the comments are in the one label, the header label public hearing. So everything we received is in there. Mary Lou.
So we're talking about some litigation in executive session, and check your emails if you haven't already, because I sent everybody some DEC guidelines or when we go over, or answer our part 2 on the full environmental assessment form for the granary, because we have lots of information. So it has some guidelines of what you're supposed to look at to determine on each separate section of the EAF, whether it's no to small or moderate to large effect. All right, so you might just want to be familiar with that before we dig in next week.
And it's all linkable, so as we go through it, we can put it up on the screen if people want, and we can, look through the DEC's guidelines for each section as we go through it.
Okay, Kate, town clerk.
We haven't gotten a chance to complete the monthly report, but for DEC, hunt licenses are now on sale, so we're pretty busy with that this week. And I have nothing else to report.
Okay. Jeff, anything for highway?
No, other than what you had mentioned, we started working. I sent 2 guys on a chipper today with Paul Crew. He had a chipper also. His is smaller, so they did some of the smaller chipping, and my guys did some of the bigger chipping. Basically, his guys bring the brush to our chipper, and then we chip it up. We started with the chipping phase kind of earlier than we expected, because I told him that if he needed help with that, we would have to start it sooner rather than later.
Okay.
It's not a everyday commitment. It's basically, I'll try to help him out as much as we can. Anybody that wants to use the trail in the meantime, the first phase is from Town Hall to the entrance from Burn Road. That section's closed from 6 to basically 3. And then when we're done with that phase, they'll open that back up. It will go from the entrance to the rail trail off the Burn Road to Kerhonkson. So the whole rail trail is currently closed, and it's open, in the evenings. But during the day from 6 to 3, you can't, we prefer, it's tough to keep people sneak in. But from the town hall entrance to the rail trail entrance off the berm is closed during the day. We did turn some people around today. Some people snuck in.
We'll get a notice out on the website.
Yeah, it's got a big sign, road, trail closed, but it's, they don't get very far, and it's just for liability purposes, because they're doing a lot of cutting. And we don't need to see anybody get hurt.
How's the paving going?
Paving was a struggle, because Mother Nature made sure that it was a struggle, but we finally finished it Tuesday.
Oh, you finished?
We did last week, and then we finished up what I had to do on Tuesday. We were going to do the parking lot for the rail trail on Tuesday, but we decided we would wait because we've got a lot of equipment going in and out, and we're using that parking lot for that. So by the end of August, we should be done on this end with the equipment, and we'll be going in from a different area, and we'll probably blacktop that parking lot at the end of this month.
But you finished your list of
I did,
paving for the town for the year on
yes,
Tuesday.
yes, I did, yes.
Great.
Thanks, Jeff. I just wanted to take a second concerning highway to explain. I know there were questions about the resolution that was added last meeting. First, why it came at the last minute. Because I had the COVID, I normally get the vouchers from the highway secretary Wednesday morning, the day before our audit meeting. Because I stayed clear of everybody, I came in after hours Wednesday night, signed the vouchers. When I looked at the bank account versus the amount of the vouchers, realized that we were going to have an issue. Now, I want to be clear, this is a cash flow issue, not a budget issue, because we have over $1 million of funding that we are scheduled to get this year between Bridge New York and CHIPS, but we must spend the money before we can get it back. So the highway department
is in a little bit of a cash flow issue. The first round of chips has been filed because the state works on an April through March tax year. The first time you can file chips during the year is August. So we are filing over $500,000 we already have actually of chips repayments back. That has been filed. That money will come to us in September. The next round can be filed in December. The next round after that is filed in January, and if we had anything left over, we could file in March. So what that $600,000 was a short-term loan to the highway department to allow them to have the cash flow to continue to pay their month-to-month bills while we're waiting for that money to come back. So we have over $500,000 in CHIPS money that we've billed for. We also will have close to $100,000 in Bridge New York design fees that we will be applying for by the end of August. So right there is the $600,000. Because the general fund has the money available in fund balance, it made more sense to do a loan from ourselves. If we went out and borrowed the money, we'd be paying 8 or 10% interest on that. Whereas if we loan it to the highway department, they're only paying us the interest that we would have received on that money, which is sadly less than 1%. So it's a significant savings in the interest by us loaning it. Apologies for throwing it on the agenda at the last minute. I did email it out to everybody on that Wednesday night as soon as I saw the situation, but I realized that maybe not everybody saw it. So that was the reason to add that resolution. And as soon as the CHIPS money comes in, it will be repaid back. So. Liaison reports. Why don't we start with you, Charlotte?
So, as far as the elder care program, it is business as usual, just taking calls. I don't believe we've had any new signups in the last month. After our wave of calls and signups after our elder care, our elder information session. And then for the housing committee, now that they have finished their first test they took on with the review and short-term rentals, which is still going to be ongoing with them following what's going to be going on in New York legislature about STRs and voids. I believe next they're going to be working on ADUs and trying to help promote them and help try to get the word out about them. I don't know if anyone saw the letter to the editor of the Bluestone that came out, and I believe it was in the Shawangunk too, right? That they wrote about ADUs and how it's possible in the town of Rochester. And I think that they are still thinking about doing a table at Heritage Day to get people informed about not only that we have ADUs, but that Rockville has money available for people to do and develop ADUs at their house. They have grant money available to people, so that's what I got.
Michael?
So I don't have a lot, I think, on the Spectrum side of things. So we sent the letter out that we all signed. Councilwoman and Allen for getting those in the mail. We saw one response from, I think it was from the AG's office, acknowledging that. So I think that's pretty standard that they just acknowledge receipt.
We also got a response back from the legislative.
Okay.
So
we'll see if that sparks any interest on the Spectrum side. ZBA, I know they met this month. Did not get to watch the meeting. It looked like it was a long one, so I'm sure there was spirited discussion. Chair Zarowski did remind me about the opening for the alternate. So, we're still looking for people that are interested in filling that slot. Have not had a chance to connect with anyone in the fire district this month, but in terms of the ambulance squad, so trying to keep track of when we got the information. So
I've got some, when you're done, I've got some new information on that.
so Mr. Biddy sent us a quarterly report on Marbletown First Aid Unit. Appreciated that. There was a lot of good information there. One thing that he highlighted, and I don't know if everybody got that, but
he obviously pointed out the Mobile Life being purchased by, I think, this Empress. And they had, one of the things that impacted their financials for the quarter was an uptick in requirements for medevacs and for advanced life support. And I know that's a concern, and that's obviously not a cost you can control or plan for, but hopefully the county is kind of mindful of that. The risk that's associated with being able to provide ALS as well as BLS support, which is what the squads are providing currently. So appreciate getting that. I wanted to thank Bea, who has been working with KFAS to help them get together the financial information that they need. So I know she took some additional time after we had a meeting with them to sit down and work through all of those financials with them, and has offered to do that in perpetuity. I believe. No, she said she would help. She said she would be willing to help for this initial phase, and obviously appreciate that. And then I think I saw Mr. Bolin pop on briefly, but he may have dropped off. But he sent out the numbers. KFAS continuing to make the calls. It's been very great response rate.
I will be, because I didn't have that for the audit meeting, I didn't present that voucher, but now that we have all that information, I'm going to expedite that voucher, bring it next Thursday to the board meeting and ask you all to sign so we can get them the payment, their third quarter payment, which we, according to the contract, is payable by August 15th. So I'll bring it to the 10th meeting. You guys approve it, then we can get them. And it does seem that everything has been answered that is required.
Great. I think that's it.
Thank you. Adam.
Constabulary report. This month there were 21 neighbor-to-neighbor and quality of life complaints, 3 resident traffic complaints, Towpath, Sherrytown, and Sampsonville, 2 environmental complaints, Towpath and Sherrytown, 4 new building department violations, 1 new court case was opened, 9 court cases proceedings remain open, and 1 court proceeding was closed. Interesting occurrences this month. There was another busy summer month. Traffic complaints, including parking on town roads, have increased again. Towpath Road being the worst area, with many local resident complaints coming in on the hottest days. Garbage dumping of household trash and other debris on town roads has risen significantly. The month saw a significant increase in car and truck tires dumped on the town roads. Reports of bears and around residents' homes and properties have become more common. The constabulary continues to work with the New York State DEC in regards to those complaints. Mainly, residents are asked to keep garbage in strong, closed containers and leave it out only on trash day, not before. Short-term rental properties continue to generate many complaints, especially on holidays, Fridays, and weekends. Neighbor-to-neighbor complaints have increased significantly this month, with noise complaints being the most common, but all have been diffused without further action necessary. That comes from Rich Miller. From our recreation department, the rec department is halfway through its summer 2023 program. July was quite adventurous. They visited many new places with the kids and had a great time learning new things. They can't wait to see what August brings. As a reminder, save the date. Heritage Day 2023 will take place on Saturday, October 7th. And the rec department will once again be hosting our annual pie contest on Main Street. Call the rec department at 626-2115 for more information or to size up. Cash prizes will be awarded to the winners. And then finally, registration for the after school program will begin the last week of August. The program runs Monday through Friday from 2:30 to 5:30. Call the rec department again to sign up. September 18th will be the tentative start date this year. The cost per child is $80 a month. You must be part of the Rondell Valley School District. That's everything we got.
Thank you. Karen.
My turn. Okay. Confessional, I've been a bad liaison month for the month of July, so I'm gonna wing it. So for the ECC, I know there's plastic recycling this Saturday. So plastic bag recycling event from 11:30 to 3:30. I did let them know that we were looking for suggestions for some of our landscaping standards. And I just
All the
received
emails go through.
correspondence from Chair Messerschmidt about just wanting some guidance, so maybe that's something we could talk about briefly on Saturday. And then I could relay that more formally back to them about exactly what we're looking for. And then also, this is just like me communicating. I know they would like to have a presence at Heritage Day, and we're thinking about maybe wanting to do like an activity that could be a little bit more public facing. So should I talk to you about that, or should I get them to talk to you about that?
Whichever is.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the transfer station, the only update I have there is I know they are eager to get the, bike racks.
Ordered,
Great, perfect. Thank you, Mike.
ordered it yesterday.
Great. I know Seth was gonna ask you about that. For the planning board, they didn't make any, decisions in July, but are anticipating some in August. And are looking forward to having the full board. And then everything else, I think we just need to, like the agricultural committee, we need to rally those appointees, and I have no updates from the code enforcement office. I'm hoping to do a visit to their office next week during the week.
And the website training is,
We have a website content training on Monday. And then after that, we should be able to start getting it contented.
Didn't I see something about, see our own, Peter Nelson doing some kind of, for that in the future?
For, you mean,
Pollinator, their pollinator notice or something?
maybe their third.
that's the third
Thursday?
Thursday.
Oh, yeah, I didn't do the third. Thursday.
That is it. Something about bees.
Yeah.
Hold on. I will pull that up. Sorry, actually, nothing here. I think hold on. Yes. August 17th at 6:30 PM, it's Bees from a Gardener's Perspective. That is on Zoom, and yes, it is a talk that will be kicked off by a short 6-minute film that Peter Nelson made called Dance of the Honeybee, narrated by Bill McKibben. So that, to register, you can send an email to thirdthursdayseries@gmail.com.
Hey, HPC?
The HPC continues to monitor historical properties that are on the market. On Tuesday, some of the members of the commission attended an open house at the Brick House on 209. They are talking their next steps of their next Hamlet series that's going to take place on September 10th at the courthouse, and it's going to be on the Hamlet of Patapsco. That's it.
Okay, did Deb coordinate with the justices? Like,
Yes.
put them in connection.
They took you off of that because you're on vacation, and I was on it.
It's fine, no problem. Just want to make sure that they connected.
Yeah.
Aaron, a quick update. So regarding the transfer station, the UCRA is
Oh, yeah. Good.
working, well,
Oh.
it was good.
Oh,
Now it's on,
sorry.
well, now it's on hold,
Sorry.
temporary hold.
I haven't heard this update yet.
Yes, so the UCRA is exploring compactors for the highest use transfer stations in the county for cardboard and commingle for the moment, and then maybe eventually MSW. Not surprisingly, we were number one or number two. We were number one in cardboard and I think two in commingle. And so we are slotted for two compactors at no cost to the town to be paid for by the UCRA. The only thing we will have to do is pay for the cost to reinstall the electric that was taken out when the compactors went away. However, the UCRA is a board of 5 and they had 2 resignations. They only have 3 board members right now. And until the legislature appoints new people, the 3 board members did not feel comfortable making that expenditure
So
Okay.
until they get new members, it's somewhat on hold. I have not spoken back with Greg again. Greg had thought it was going to go through last week, and then they, at their meeting, they decided that they would table it until they get 2 more members. There's no anticipation that it will be an issue. They just, with only 3 out of 5, they didn't want to make that decision until they were full board. So we are still on the books to get 2 compactors. I'm hoping by the end of the year, we will have 2 compactors.
And then we'll do the electric once we.
I'm not gonna
hear.
do the electric till we get confirmation that we're getting the compactor. So,
Yeah, that's all, yeah.
yeah,
that's
we
what
did get a quote from our electrician of $2,500 to run that electricity back in. Fairly reasonable price, and we probably will be able to save 2 out of 3 pole charges. Interestingly enough, with the cardboard residents, if we have the compactor, we'll no longer have to break it down, because actually, if you leave it whole, it compacts tighter than if you flatten it already. So so we await the UCRA, but it's good news in that we are slated to get 2 compactors, and they will go back in the location where they used to be. So I had hoped to get 1 for MSW, but they would prefer to do it with the recycling for them. So we'll follow what they want to do. But that's our good news on that. And I don't have an update from the assessor, unfortunately. I do know that the assessment rolls were completed as of July 1st. We do have a resolution added regarding a litigation regarding an assessment that we're going to authorize our attorney to represent us. And that's all I have. So we will go into public comment. Shirley.
Hey, not gonna lie to you. A couple of weeks ago, we come out of Rose Harbor Road in the afternoon, and there was about 75 kids blocking Cherrytown Road, totally. You could not go down Cherrytown Road. There was a rabbi on a golf cart, which is 100% illegal in the state of New York to have a golf cart on a public highway, riding behind them, herding them like cattle. We had to go all the way up around through Cherrytown and come back down to get home. I fear for those kids' safety. I don't care about the man on the golf cart. He was 100% wrong. But if somebody comes down around Cherrytown Road, with the speeds they come down through there, him and those children would have been slaughtered. Something needs to be done to keep those kids off the road. It's dangerous. He having no insurance, no registration, and no legal right to have that machine out in the road, number one. If somebody had hit them, it would have been a major lawsuit. And those kids would have been dead, and so would he. They come down through there at 40, 50 miles an hour down around that turn from DeGraw's farm. It's very dangerous. Somebody needs to contact them and tell them to keep those kids, that many especially, out of the road. There's no reason when they own all that property that they have to walk out of one gate and come all the way down to go up into the other and down by Phil Marco Park. On that turn, it's very dangerous. Number 2, did you pass the tax exemption for EMS in the fire department in our town?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
who's gonna make up the multi-dollars off the tax rolls? Coming off the tax rolls. It's only gonna make taxes go up for everybody. That money that we're taking off the tax roll to give it to the volunteers is gotta be made up somewhere, correct? The answer?
It's public comment. It's not back and forth.
Okay,
So
where is it coming from? Renters that are, we have 33% of our members of the Constant Accord revenue who are getting rent, don't get nothing except their rent's gonna go up because the taxes on that rental property is going to go up. Nobody's winning nothing. Ackworth Fire District, they're gonna get money off their taxes, and their taxes are gonna go up to make up the difference for the money that the town's giving these people off their taxes. They're not getting nothing. It's the most ridiculous thing. I mean, it sounds good on paper, sounds really good in theory. Till I'm asking you, who's gonna make up the tax money that we're losing, giving these people tax dollars off? It's coming right back off from them that own property. And the renters are getting nothing. And there's a large number of renters that are gonna get absolutely nothing for their service. And the possibility that when these landowners find out, hey, I'm gonna get a tax break. We're gonna get an influx of members, get this piece of paper, bring it to the town, get the tax break, they're gonna be gone. Just like happens in any other organization where you're gonna give them something to volunteer. Our numbers are great right now at PayPass. I'm really proud of the work the guys are doing. But if the organization would get their act together, I think, and I said this at our meeting last month, if they get going and get the people that are on the numbers, on the rolls, off their dead buns and get doing their hours, we wouldn't need so many paid members, paid people from P5. But I'd like to know where the money's coming from to make up the tax dollars.
Any other comments? Larry?
Yeah, I haven't been doing my job very well. Apologize. I do not know whether the rail trail project, which I should have asked this question about a year ago. I do not know if the included in that project is an improvement of the board member certified inadequacy of the put in and take out at the berm park for canoes and kayaks. I think some of you, I know at least two of you have experienced it directly. And I was there again yesterday, actually. If it is possible for the scope of work, the work now underway, if it's possible, if that has already been included, if it's, could it be retro? You can't respond, I know what the answers, but if it's possible to change that somehow, because that will save you having to listen to me with proposals, with town resources to do the damn thing. It's not that much work probably, but if there's a way to finagle the existing contract so that it includes that, that would be a good thing. So that's part one. Part two, does that project include paving or otherwise expanding or improving the parking area for the Berm Road Park or for the approach road to the Berm Road Park, which is now washed out? You cannot use a regular two-wheel drive car very readily to get down there. So I don't, that's question number two. And number three, not a question, it's a statement and a concern. When some of us did the tire pull a month or so ago, there was a very dangerous Widowmaker limb, that maybe 200, 300-pound limb that is hanging from the tree right over the horribly inadequate put in takeout that is that little mud trowel hole. But there's about a 300-pound limb that is free, except it's hung up. It's not still attached to the tree, except it's hung up in a limb. And the end of it is touching the ground right in the middle of that little mud path where people go down. And it's really tempting if you're trying to get out of there to grab onto that limb to pull yourself out, which could have, eventually it will come down. I just don't know if it'll come down when someone does the last nudging. So it's probably someone, it'd be great if some of his guys could go over there with a rope and a truck and pull the damn thing down just to get it down and out. So that's my three part. We do need to get it put in and take out include, because there are very, very few of them. I will be sending you a little 2-pager, 3-pager, which hopefully won't expand much beyond that, about needs for put-ins and takeouts along the whole length from Ellenville down to High Falls, for the roundout, but several of them could be in the town here, and I will start persistently pursuing this in coming weeks. Thank you.
To follow up on what Shirley said with the vehicle and traffic laws. Vehicle and traffic law 401 states no motor vehicle shall be operated or driven upon public highways of this state without first being registered in accordance with the provision of the state. So they're violating that law, they're not registered. And golf carts the same, which they have been using. I did follow an ATV from 350 Cherrytown Road to 30 Cherrytown Road. It moved right along. It wasn't a low speed vehicle by any means. It was an ATV, no license. There's another law that says you can't operate. This is 2406. No person shall operate or ride as a passenger on an ATV unless he is wearing a protective helmet of the type approved by the commissioner pursuant to subdivision 6 of section 381 of this chapter. Trust me, they did not have a helmet on. It's easy to see that they do not have a helmet on because they are wearing their normal garb. I don't know if they had liability insurance, but that would be covered under subsection 240.7. I mean, every year we go through this, every year we use this drum, and like Shirley said, it's for safety. And yet there's no enforcement of these laws, and they are New York State laws. Would anyone on the board like to pick up for the summer months something to do with this? Do we notify the constables? What do we do to stop this? Now that they have a camp at 350 and a camp at 30, it's more prevalent because they're coming down from 350 or going up on 30. And it is dangerous. It's very dangerous. She witnessed that. I witnessed the ATVs and the golf carts on the road. That's my first thing. My second thing is, geez, Jeff, I'm so happy to see this. They're not going to be happy with me. I would like someone from the town board to tell me just exactly how much has had to be lent to the highway department in the past year due to the CHIPS money and Pave New York not coming in. When I sat on the board and discussed this with you, Aaron knows and Adam knows, I always told you, do not count on that CHIPS money, because if the state decides not to give it, you're going to be in a fix. Now the state delays it or turns it out when they want to, and look what's happening. You're having to do, I'll give you today and I'll give you back tomorrow. I'll give you today and I'll give you back tomorrow. Why not do a budget whereby you set aside 50% of your CHIPS money and Pave New York money and say, that's what you're getting. I realize you're understating your revenue, but by the same token, it's not a good budget. You guys must have borrowed, I'm betting back and forth, 800, maybe $1 million this year they borrowed back and forth from December of last year. I don't know. At the end of 22, I don't remember how much it was. But if you've got 600,000 now, and in January, there was a loan for payroll. So if that was 300,000, I don't remember if that was the number or not, that would be 900,000. So that's pretty close to $1 million, and there may be more. I don't know if there's been more loans. I haven't kept track of all of it, but you're saying it's a cash flow problem. Well, if you can't depend on the money, don't use it as revenue. Put it in your contingency and budget your money accordingly. It could be done that way. Could be. And with that, I have my question is did I understand you correctly, like to say you're going to give the third quarter money to the ambulance or Marbletown? Which I'm not clear as to what the statement was. Tell me in a minute. I know. But anyway, I just need to know that because you don't have the third quarter money yet. So in my mind, are you gonna pay before they turn in their report to you? That kind of messes with the contract. So that's all I'm saying. I need to know where I stand on that, sitting with this board, because I'm using that to say, need to get this done. And if you're gonna pay them and it's not done, you take away all my leverage. So, I'm done.
Anyone else? So let me start out with that. So when I say third quarter, it's the third payment. The first payment is made in January.
Right.
The next is made in April. The next is made in August. The next is made in November, according to our contract with them. So they submit the paperwork to us by the end of July. They get the payment by April, or excuse me, August 15th. So I'm saying third quarter, meaning third payment. Marbletown did submit all their paperwork. That was put in last week's audit meeting. That was approved and signed. Because we had the financials from KFAS, but we did not have their call log report. It hadn't arrived yet. I did not put that in the vouchers last, and thank you.
No, that's.
Yeah, thank you. No, but thank you for the financial because it was very clear and very detailed, and we appreciate it. I plan to bring that to the board next Thursday to say, do we want to sign this voucher to pay them their third payment?
We're each taking, Dave brings the
Yep.
calls, I think, and I.
Yeah. So that's the answer to that question. Regarding the highway, we cannot, but CHIPS is in the state budget. We find out when the state budget gets adopted, hopefully by April. This year it was not adopted till May. We find out how much money we're going to get in CHIPS. It can't be spent until, the 284 agreement is done based on that amount. It's not a matter of if we're going to get it or not. Once you're allotted that money, that is the money you're allotted for the town. We can spend it down. You have to spend it before you can get it. The reason in past years, the highway has had a little bit of a fund balance to be able to carry over some of these things. That because of fuel costs, other costs, the fund balance has gotten a little bit lower. So this is why it's a cash flow issue. We could go out and borrow the money, as many communities do, it's the equivalent of a band. It's a grant, or not grant because it's not grant money, but it's a funding anticipation notice. I forgot the exact term. But at the commercial rates, we would likely be paying 8 to 10% interest on that versus by borrowing from the general fund. It's just it's a move of the money. The highway is going to pay it back when they get their money. And they will pay us the interest that the general fund would have received for that amount of money, were the money to stay in the general fund. So we are loaning from one fund to the other to be able, because we just did, and the first payment is always your most significant one because that's your road work season. And because they work from April to March, can't do your first filing for the tax year, or excuse me, for the fiscal year until August. So we have submitted over $500,000 of money that is coming back in. The Bridge New York is another $355,000 that is allotted. That throws a little more of a curve. That also is spend it, submit, get reimbursed. We're about 100,000 on that. So the two together is the 600,000. Last year, we had a similar situation in that we did not get an application for CHIPS in August. We did the November one. That money came in December, was reimbursed back to the general fund. The general fund did, not the general fund, excuse me. The town board did approve $100,000 of ARPA money last year to be included in the budget last year to help offset the overages of the cost of fuel and the cost of materials. That was not anticipated when we had done the budget. So the highway department is within budget. This is not, and as I say, this is not a budgetary issue. This is a cash flow issue. If we were to budget less of the CHIPS money, then we have to have a balanced budget. You probably remember our first year in office, the budget that was done by the previous board included the revenue, but did not budget for the expenditures. And we had to go out and borrow $300,000 or $400,000 to be able to spend the money in order to get it back. So this is why we're loaning ourselves the money. It's the most effective, it's the most efficient and the economical way to do it. The money's sitting in the general fund account in fund balance. So by being able to loan it to ourselves, and we are legally allowed as long as it's paid back before the end of the tax year, or fiscal year, I keep saying tax years. But that is the reason. It's a sort of perfect storm of all these combinations. And in many other municipalities, this is a regularity. In the past, we've had a little bit of more of a cushion of fund balance than we have. So that is the reason on that. Regarding the Ravtov, my suggestion, if you witness something like that, please call the sheriff, call the state police. Yes, it is a town road, but any of those agencies can also respond immediately and address it. Whether they will or not, I don't know, but if the board wants us to, we can consider putting a constable on duty every single day in the summer, but that is going to be a significant cost. So witnessing a traffic issue like that, though, absolutely, I agree, it's a safety issue. But unless you come upon that situation at the exact time that it happens, it's done and over within a period of time. So my suggestion is for future, I mean, certainly let us know, but the sheriff will respond, the state police will respond. So, Larry, your question about the launches, the current contract being through the county, they specifically are only dealing with trail. So that is not a part of this and can't be a part of this. Legislator Stewart from Marbletown has expressed some desire to, and I sit on the county trails council, which has a member who is very much water oriented. And we are working with Legislator Stewart to try to get another round of funding made available to any communities who want to improve water access. So through the county, I was waiting to see what happened on that before we initiated anything on our own. If that doesn't happen, or it isn't likely that it's going to happen, we have had discussion about improving the areas. We do have to find out that piece of land there where it accesses. We do need to make sure that we actually own it. I'm not 100% sure that there's not a little strip there that we don't own, but we will explore that. But I know you're talking right at the end of Burn Road, the access to the creek. Not Burn Road, the Burn Road entrance.
The road that goes from Burn Road down.
Yes.
Steeply down.
Yeah. So, but the short answer is the current trail work can't be tied into that. The county may or may not have another program that they're going to offer that will address that. And if they don't, then we will address it ourselves.
Is that all a county project, or is it also a joint one with OSI?
Unknown. It's in discussion right now, so I don't think it's to that level.
Can you tell me when the county?
Hang on one sec, because I don't want to get into back and forth.
I'm not arguing that.
No, but let's talk offline, because this is the board responding back. So I apologize. I'm trying to keep it fair for everybody. So
Yeah, it's not a back and forth. We can talk offline. Were there any questions that I missed?
I just want clarity on, one of the questions was if they should call the constables if this happens, and you said.
They can call the
Oh,
constables.
Okay, you
Yeah.
only said state.
No,
police
yeah,
and
yeah, but I
sheriff,
mean,
so just wanted to
in terms
clarify
of
that.
somebody who is actually physically on duty at that moment.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because you just.
Yeah.
you didn't-
Oh, yeah.
when they-
No, no,
when you said
absolutely.
who you call, I just wanted to make sure that was clear that they can't
Yeah.
call the constable.
Oh,
whether
absolutely.
one's on duty or not
Yeah.
is
Yes,
the question.
yes, for clarification. So,
Did we
Yes.
wanna, I'm sorry, we have someone on, with Dave Bolin.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wanted to.
I think he was
Okay,
just listening in. but-
okay.
Dave, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm just listening in and I apologize for that late report. I've been very tied up at work with things going on there. And just, once you called me the other day, I sent it right out to you because I forgot that I had not sent that to you.
Nope. Got it. Thank you. Okay, any other town board members want to?
Explain a little bit of the exemption.
Oh, yes. So, the exemption, we had a public hearing on the exemption. We took public comment at that time. It is a relatively small percentage. It is 10% of the valuation of the property, which is not a significant amount. It also, any person who takes that gives up the ability to take the IRS, New York State, is it New York State or federal?
It's New York.
New York. Yeah. Tax return, which for many people is significantly more money than the exemption. When we calculated that, I do not believe that this is going to be a significant number of dollars that is going to need to be replaced. We also added, I believe the number was $19 million on the assessment roll from last year to this July 1st, which will certainly go a long way. The other thing is, you do have to be a member for a period of time. So somebody is not going to be able to just sign up, join, say I'm a member and get this exemption. You do have to, the agency provides a list of the members. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly the period of time, but yeah, so you do have to be a member for a period of time. So the state made this available. I believe every community that I'm aware of, or most of the communities in Ulster County did it. The Ulster County legislature did it. I don't know, and I don't believe the school board did it. And I'll be very honest, that is the biggest impact. They are an independent agency, so I don't know. We only have control over our end of it. But recognizing the volunteers for what they do, I understand, and it was brought up, I believe you were the one who brought it up about renters, and we can only do what the law allows us to do. The state law did not address, it only addressed landowners. So that was all we could address. We adopted that several months ago, and we will, those numbers will be incorporated into the budget when they, and that exemption will not take effect until the following year's tax year, correct? Because they wouldn't have filed already. So the tax year the first impact for that tax year will be the January 2025 tax bill. Will be the first one that will impact. Okay, I think that's everything. Any board members have any other topics they want to bring up? Okay, move into resolutions then. We're going to amend this one. So the Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the minutes of the July 6th business meeting, the July 8th, 3rd, and 13th workshop meeting, and then the meetings on the 27th will be tabled until they are completed. So somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next, and I apologize, I was typing this up Sunday while I was under a little heavy sedation, and I didn't have the numbers, and I never got them. So we're gonna table resolution C until next meeting, when I will get those numbers from
We
you.
didn't have any anyway, I looked it up.
Oh,
But I
No.
did find that St. Paul's Textile did put a deposit in and they were supposed to email me ahead of time, so that won't fall until
Oh,
the next account.
so then-
It's at zero.
there are no donations, so we do not need resolution C. So you're, yep. We did receive grant funding that I will be coming back to you though, to accept the grant funding for one of the trips that the transportation costs were reimbursed by the state. So, but that's not a donation, that's a okay, next, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce this, brought copies of it, I emailed all of you, but, you guys. So I'll go ahead and introduce this and then we can have discussion. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board adopted local law 3 of 2022 on June 2nd, 2022, enacting a moratorium known as the moratorium on action subject to building permits, site plans, special use permits, or subdivision review. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board adopted local law 6 of 2023 on June 1, 2023. Sorry, two in there. Extending the moratorium known as the moratorium on action subject to building permits, site plans, special use permits, or subdivision review until October 1, 2023. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board has worked diligently to enact a new subdivision and zoning code since such time, and has prepared such draft and submitted to the Ulster County Planning Board and Town of Rochester Planning Board for comments. Whereas the Town of Rochester has authored and reviewed changes to various subchapters of each code and has held 30 public hearings on the various subchapters these last, it says 14 months, but it should actually now say in June. No, it is 14 months. Look at that. Whereas local law 3 of 2022 and subsequent extensions expired on June 4, 2023. Local law 6 of 2023 will expire on October 1, 2023. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board believes a continued extension of the moratorium not to extend past. We're going to change the October 1st to December 15th. 2023 as necessary to complete the review and adoption of the codes. Therefore, the Town of Rochester Town Board proposes local blank of 2023 be referred to the Town of Rochester Planning Board and Ulster County Planning Board for comment, and further establishes the date of September 7, 2023 for public hearing on the matter to be held at 6:30 p.m. at the Harold Lipton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Accord, New York, and further request the town clerk to circulate legal notice of such public hearing. And we should add the regular September meeting will immediately follow. So I'll go ahead and make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So we submitted the subdivision. County reviewed it last night. I will tell you, their first comment was great job. They have a couple advisory comments that we will be getting back from them. We have a meeting this Saturday to continue work on the code. We've got to finish the code. We have to do the schedule of use. We have to do the development standards, meaning setbacks and things like that. And we have to do the map. To get it done and referred to them, to get it adopted by October, we would have to have it to them for their September meeting. It's just not feasible. So we didn't want to do this, but by doing this until December 15, what we will shoot for is getting it referred to the zoning code and the map referred to them for the November County Planning Board meeting.
and the November town planning board meeting, get those comments back. We can make whatever changes we want to make, if any, and then adopt the first meeting in December. That gives Kate time to file it and be filed by December 15th. It's the only way we're gonna get it done.
My only question is this enough time? Because that gives us 3 months basically to finish.
It gives us August,
Budget.
September, October.
We have a budget.
You're right. I think it does. Because we're coming, some of the sections we're coming to now, definitions took a long time. Some of the other, subdivision took a long time. I think now we're getting to, there's a number of sections coming up where there were no comments or there were very minimal comments. I think it's doable. I think we have to. I think we owe it to the residents to get it done by the end of the year. So. My take on it. So, how's everybody else?
I mean, I think it's a lot. And we've been ambitious before, so,
Yeah.
but I also, if we can extend it again.
We can, I mean, I think we should try really hard not to. And if, we're gonna meet this Saturday, and we also set a meeting for the 19th. What I would ask is in September, we try to set a couple meetings. I know October, we're in the budget season, but I'm hoping in October, by October, I'm hoping the code will be done by early September at the latest. I don't think the map is going to take us that long. And the schedule, we've already sort of
Yeah,
talked about the schedule.
is easy to
Schedule will go,
alter
yeah.
also.
So I think it will, I think if we can plan at least 2 to 3 good chunks of time.
Yeah, I think we just need to I think one thing for me is we should be very mindful of this when we're making decisions about other things that we're doing, and just like the top priority for the board from now until October is finishing the code. Like, I think we should all commit to that. And then also, I would say until we pass this, we have to operate as if there is no extension. So
Agreed.
getting as much done as we can until we actually make the decision on this as well. I mean, I'm willing to commit to that, though I can't make the 14th meeting. But I was thinking I could send my,
19th?
I'm sorry, the 19th. I can't make that meeting, but I can send we'll see where we get on Saturday.
And I think we said last time, as long as we.
As long
get
as 3 of you.
3
were
of
there.
us at a meeting, we can just keep pushing through. And if anybody, you can look, what I'm proposing is we start where we left off. I know we need to go back to the wetlands. I know we need to go back to the signs, but let's continue moving forward from where we left off. People can look ahead at the sections we're coming to. If you want something you want considered, submit it.
Yeah.
I think we really need to get this done by the end.
I mean, I agree with you. It just takes all of us committing and also like paring down
Understood.
everything else that we're doing so that we're
Yep.
not overloaded.
Yes, we are overloaded.
We got a lot going on.
Yeah.
You guys come up with great ideas. And that's a compliment. I need it. So. Thought I did.
Yeah.
I made a motion.
Yeah.
I don't know who seconded.
Adam did.
You want to vote on it?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? I wanted to just make sure we
There
were
was
on.
nowhere Charlotte.
Okay.
Always.
Next, and I have copies of this resolution from Mary Lou for you guys. There you go. Oh, did make a copy for you. Or did I give you one?
I don't know why I have an extra one, but I think. Okay, so the motion is to authorize the attorney for the town to represent the town of Rochester assessor, the Board of Assessment Review, and the town of Rochester in relation to an Article 7 petition filed by MTG 41 LLC. And we're gonna insert the language and any other petitions which may be received for review of its real property assessment. And this is at Mary Lou's request. Motion.
I'll second.
Any questions? Mary Lou can explain what this is.
I got the gist.
I mean, we've been through
Somebody
this
didn't
before.
like their assessment and they filed a suit against it and
Got email.
Yes.
you got emailed this, yes, yes. And Mary Lou is defending it for us, so.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, the sand bids. We received one bid.
Aye.
Because you already have it. So, the bid is from Frank Courtright Excavating for $9.90 per ton for a 2-year period. The county bid that we were considering using is $10. So this will save us 10 cents a ton. It's not a significant savings, but it is a savings. So,
You get savings on delivery fee because they're so close.
we pick it up.
Yeah, we get it, yeah.
Well, we save on, yeah, we save on fuel.
What are we doing that one? Seven?
What's 750?
Yeah.
That was for 2 years.
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna.
And the county, I believe, was previously like $7.75 or
Yeah,
$8.
they all went up.
And went up to 10.
Yeah.
They all went up about $2. So somebody want to make a motion to accept the bid from Frank Courtright Excavating for $9.90 a ton for the period
August 1st.
August 1st. Yep, thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. Discussion item, the short-term rental. So, I think that letter was very well done. I definitely want to read it. Having us set it tonight as our self-imposed thing, I would propose that because we just got that information that we table it. And we can either put it on next Thursday's agenda or we can put it on the September agenda. I will say, we'll have to have Mary Lou look. I'm not sure we can do a moratorium on non-owner occupied without changing our law.
I've already looked and you can't, and you can, yeah, you can't. And people who already have units, you can't say that they can't renew.
We
Yeah,
can't,
that's what I'm
By the
saying.
terms of our law.
yeah, we can't take away, and especially the people that my grandfather did, we can't take any away. But we can do a zero
Yeah,
increase.
I think that they've, if I'm understanding them right, what they've said in meetings, I think what they're saying with not allowing renewals is not doing an equal 100 cap, because those 100 from the
That's-
first
that's
year
different
are
than-
up for
That's
this
different
year.
than a
and I think-
renewal.
Yeah, and I think that they were
Yeah.
using it as that term, but
Okay.
meaning to make it so we can't issue the same amount of permits back of people up for renewal, but they said it in a different way.
Because once you've received the permit, you have it unless you don't renew it or you're in violation. In which case we can take it away, but I don't think we can take away somebody's permit that they've already received.
What's the 2-year term then? Don't you have to
Yeah, it's-
reapply?
You have to reapply.
They have to reapply,
Right.
but the reapplication is, we can't deny it as long as they meet the criteria.
But is that within the cap then, when people
No,
are reapplying?
no, the cap is new, cap is in the law, the
It's
cap
cumulative.
is new, brand new permits, not renewals.
So, and then I also haven't heard back. I reached out, so I don't have a total number. So what we're doing each year, my understanding is that what we're doing each year is the number that we set is on top of actual permits issued total.
Correct.
So I think the actual permits issued for non-owner occupied are around 100, but that's just based on my notes. I don't have the actual
Because the
numbers.
cap is for non-owner occupied.
Yeah.
So that if we were to set, so those people, even if they're up for renewal, aren't subject to the cap that we're setting.
But if somebody doesn't renew,
Then they
Then-
lose it.
then they lose it.
Yes,
They would.
yeah,
They would
and
have
then
to-
they would be
and then they
subject.
would be
to-
subject to the cap.
Yes.
in the future.
Yes,
They came
And so
back.
Mary Lou, there's no way to do a moratorium. The only way to prevent any additional past the grandfather to 81 would.
You'd have to
completely
change the
change
law.
yeah, we
right?
could change the law to say, actually, we can take these away. Or whatever, we could change it, but that's not.
You could change that, but I have to say that you could be in a little bit of peril for somebody saying, I had a property right
Yeah.
that you took away,
Right.
you know, because they've done whatever they've done.
However, we can
You
set
know.
the cap for this coming year at 0.
Yeah.
If we choose. to.
Yep, for new ones, yep.
And I think Woodstock did that very thing. Somebody did.
They said it, so there could be none.
Yeah. Woodstock changed their law completely so that it's
Yeah,
not.
so they might have a.
But I
article
think
saying
we
they
had
come
the
away.
81, the initial grandfathering, and that was 81, which is a combo of owner occupied and non-owner occupied. For 2022, we set it at 100. I don't remember where we ended up that year, but it was not the full 100.
60 and change when we went to go set the. other
Yeah.
cap.
And
But they
then,
still had 3 months. to
yeah, so when we
apply
set
for
the cap at 40, there was a potential for there to be 140, but I know that in 2022, we did not meet the 100 cap. So it's like whatever we did for 2022 would be this one number, and then we would add whatever's done for 2023, and then the cap we set would be that total number of actual permits issued plus anywhere from 0 to whatever we set. And then that would be what would be allowed. And if anyone doesn't reapply that's up for the renewal application, then they would have to, if they missed that time period that they have, they would be subject to whatever cap we set in the future. So if it was 0, they wouldn't get.
Also, if it's every other year that they get the permit, there's probably a percentage of those folks that will not reapply in year number 2. Also, the grandfathered of the 81, though that the purpose behind that was sunsetting those, we expect over the time, and it could be as soon as now, that a percentage of those will fall off books as well.
Because they also have to reapply.
They have to continue to reapply. They were grandfathered in that they were guaranteed that as long as they passed inspection, they would get the permit, but they still have to reapply every 2 years.
They didn't fit other criteria, the multiple dwellings or.
They did have to comply.
Yeah, but they had to be safety
Yeah.
standards, but if they had other outstanding things, the law didn't accommodate at that time, they were able to keep them. But again, once they lose the permit, they couldn't get it back because they were not.
So if between, well, you let me know if you get the numbers before next.
Yeah, I'll
meeting,
try
put it
to
on the
see
next-
if we've had drop off too, because I don't know.
We won't know when the drop off is.
Oh, you're
until-
right.
Because it
until
hasn't
the-
been
It
there.
hasn't
but-
happened.
we'll have to-
And I think when we look at the code, we set this in August to be fair to the public, but I think what we want to do is maybe set this cap time more like October. Because the permits start January 1. That still gives them 3 months. By doing it in August, we were trying to be nice to people who want to do this, but we kind of boxed ourselves in the corner. Because the tax rolls don't come out till July, and then a month later, we got to do this cap, and we don't have real numbers. So I think when we redo the
Yeah,
code,
I do have the tax numbers
Yeah.
with me though, for you guys for occupant or
yeah,
actual.
there's 4,800 parcels in town, and there's about 3,300 structures, I think, President.
What do you?
Yeah,
So-
so 33, it's 3308 for actual structures that are residential.
bad.
So,
yeah, we should all
but
be
this is from
prepared.
Joanne, and this is just resident, like, remember last year when we did it, it was like everything, I mean, we're just going line, I tried to find. Which ones were residential living and which one were commercial, and then Joanne did one that was just residential.
Got it.
Well, for the housing committee. that-
Perfect.
Has
to be
owner occupied.
That they. have to live
180,
there
180
for 100 So it could be someone's not there while they're renting it. They don't have to be.
Right. Be a snowbird, the seasonal.
Yeah, just food for thought while you guys are thinking till next meeting when we actually discuss this. I'm also going to propose when we get to the short-term rental law that we don't allow more than one per person, because currently, like, we have one person that has 3. In
But
town.
they're only supposed to have 2.
Yeah,
I think
in our
that
law,
must be
they're
a fluke, but from the list that I foiled from the code enforcement office back in February.
I know there's a
three
couple of-
registered with one
There's
person.
a couple of grandfathered, and there should be one in there that has 5.
Yeah, the grandfather
I don't know if it
didn't,
was 5, maybe they might-
grandfather.
Only one, but, yeah, but there was one specifically that had 3, so.
Well, if the one has 3, if one of those is grandfather, then okay. But the code does say 2. But absolutely, anything we want to tweak in that code. now's
Just
the
when we
time.
get around to it, just to put that word in your guys' ear.
Thank you for all the
Yeah,
work the
thank you,
housing committee is
Charlotte.
doing on this, really appreciate it. And
Yeah,
Ty gave at last night's county planning board, Ty gave a very good overview of the whole program.
oh, for Rocco, or for the
No, for
housing
the-
smart,
The housing smart for the county planning board who had not gone through that. And I know they're going to the village of Saugerties coming up very soon because I don't know if you saw in the Freeman, there's a lot of bad press of this program. Because Village of Saugerties didn't quite understand it. So now the county's going directly to them to explain it better. Yeah. It was sad because the program was getting a lot of incorrect information said about it, and it was being reported in the press, and I was like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, so.
yeah, I will say that housing, when they did their letter to the editor, they took everything directly verbatim from their counted, and even used their picture of the agreement. So they did their due diligence on that.
Okay, did I cover all the added items?
The 500 executive session.
Yeah. So, we'll do our adjourning in memory at this moment, and then we're gonna go into this executive session.
Could I add someone to the memoriam? If you could
I
also-
saw your post,
You
yes.
could also add Elias,
Last week. ELIAS.
ELIAS, and then regular G.
I want to start and recognize Minnie Popple, who has been involved in this community a long time. She's passed. Jacqueline Davy, Betty Distel, Anthony M. Poinsberger, Carl Shamrow, Natalie Madison, Catherine Coddington, John Fleming, Robert Allen Depew, and this is my own personal Tony Bennett, who I had the pleasure to work with a number of times and one of the finest gentlemen out there in the business. So definitely a loss. And then all we're suffering from gun violence and the people of Ukraine. So when we do adjourn, we'll be adjourning in their memory. So I'd ask that we have a motion to go into executive session and invite our attorney for the purposes of discussion of a particular person with a particular situation and ongoing litigation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Opposed?
Hi. Thanks for
So,
Thanks, Kate.
you want to hear something wild?